There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes not from confusion, but from clarity. You're not confused about what's happening. You've named the dynamic. You've probably read enough to explain it to someone else. You know this relationship isn't giving you what you need. You know the pattern. You might even know where it came from. And yet, you're still here. Not because you're weak, not because you're in denial, but because knowing something and being able to act on it are two completely different things. And nobody talks honestly about why. So that's what this is about. There are three things that keep people in situations they already understand, and none of them are stupidity, and none of them are a lack of self-respect. The first is that leaving feels more dangerous than staying. This isn't always rational, and that's the point. Your nervous system doesn't make decisions based on what you know. It makes decisions based on what feels safe. And if you grew up in an environment where love was unpredictable, where connection could disappear without warning, where conflict meant abandonment, then the familiar, even when it's painful, can register as safer than the unknown. Staying in something that hurts is at least a hurt you know. Leaving means entering territory your nervous system has no map for. And so the part of you that understands the situation, the part that can name the pattern, cite the theory, explain it clearly to a friend, that part doesn't have final say. The part that learned to survive does. That's not weakness. That's a very old protection doing its job. The second is that leaving would mean accepting a loss you're not ready for. Not just the loss of the relationship, the loss of what you believed the relationship could be. Most people who stay in dynamics that aren't working aren't holding on to what is. They're holding on to what was, or what they hoped it would become. The version of this person that showed up early on, the moments of real connection, the possibility that if they could just explain it the right way, or be patient enough, or need a little less, things would finally shift. Letting go of that isn't simple. It means grieving something that was never fully real. And grief for something that didn't quite exist is some of the loneliest grief there is. So instead of grieving, people wait. They try again. They explain again. They extend the deadline one more time. Not because they don't know what's happening, but because accepting it fully would mean sitting with a loss they haven't found a way to hold yet. The third is that leaving would require you to trust yourself, and that trust hasn't been built yet. This one is the least talked about. A lot of people in difficult relationship dynamics have spent years in environments where their perception was questioned, where they were told they were too sensitive, too reactive, reading too much into it, where their read on a situation was consistently overridden by someone else's version of events. Over time, that erodes something. Not your intelligence, not your awareness, but your confidence in your own perception. Your trust that what you feel is real and worth acting on. So even when they know something is wrong, even when the knowing is clear, there's a voice underneath it that says, but what if you're wrong again? What if you're overreacting? What if you leave and it turns out you misread the whole thing? And that voice keeps you still. Knowing isn't always enough, because knowing doesn't automatically rebuild the trust in yourself that years of having your perception overridden took away. That has to be rebuilt deliberately. And that's some of the most important work there is. Here's what I want you to hear, if any of this lands. The fact that you haven't left yet doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you don't know better. It means you're human, with a nervous system shaped by real experiences, carrying a grief that's real, and working to trust yourself in a world that didn't always make that easy. Understanding why you're stuck is not the same as being free of it, but it's where freedom starts. If you're in this place, if you can see clearly what's happening but can't seem to close the distance between knowing and doing, I'd love to talk with you. I offer free 30-minute clarity calls for people who are ready to look at this honestly and figure out what the next step actually is. Not to push you toward any particular decision, but to help you get clear on what's actually keeping you where you are and what moving forward could actually look like for you. The link is in the description. Deeper understanding, real change.